Father. But we've got it backwards where it's like, okay, Jesus came so I don't have to go to hell. Jesus came so that I could have a relationship with the Father, and the Father is not in hell, which means I don't have to go to hell. I get to be with the Father. See, it's just an outcome of what the real thing is. And the real thing is God wants us to be in a relationship with Him because He loves us. And the more we are in a relationship with the Father, the more we go, you know what? I don't need that junk over there. I don't need that stuff over there. I don't need that relationship over there. That's not what's the best for me. I want what's best for me. And sometimes and I used to say this for years and years and years, the safest place is in the center of God's will. That's the best place to be, but it's not the safest place. As a matter of fact, sometimes that can be the most dangerous place. You ask the missionaries who all were killed by the native tribe. What was it? Elliot, right? Yeah, Jim Elliot. That was not a safe place at all, but it was the absolute best place for them to be. So I've changed that. There are several of my life statements that I've changed. So hey, we're going to get right into Revelation. Revelation chapter 9. The first woe is gone, 5 months of torments at the hand of some type of demonic locust, and it has come to an end. Then the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar, which is before God, one saying to the sixth angel who had the trumpet, "Release the four angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates." Whose voice is this? Is this God's voice? Is this Jesus' voice? Is this some angelic being's voice? We're not exactly sure. I tend to think it's probably Jesus, since He seems to be the one who is directing the show from the throne room of heaven. It doesn't really matter, because whoever's doing it has authority from God and says, "Okay, it's time to blow. Go ahead and blow the trumpet. And when you blow the trumpet, you are going to release the four angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates." Now, last week we saw there was this abyss. There was this bottomless pit. How do you have a bottomless pit? You get inside a circle. If you're in a sphere, it's a bottomless pit because it has no bottom. Okay? There's only up. Think about that for a little while you're eating your soup this afternoon. So now we saw that Satan, I believe Satan was given the key. He opens that. Some horrible things come out. The locusts come out. But now we see these four angels who are being held captive somewhere. Who are these four angels? Some of you who've studied Revelation are going to go, "Oh, I know it's Tom, Dick, and Stanley, and I know exactly who they are." Here's what I think. We know that the Tigris-Euphrates River, that valley, is where what garden was? The Garden of Eden. So why is it we can't find the Garden of Eden exactly like it was now, exactly like it was then now? There was this thing called the flood. Does a flood ever change the course of rivers? So, I was really looking, I was like, why can't we find the Garden of Eden? Look at the map. It's right there. Boom, boom, boom. It's right there. And, in like Egypt. Until you look at other maps and it's over here in Turkey. Well, how is that possible? Well, the land has changed. If you believe, like I do, that there was a big flood, it probably changed some rivers. As a matter of fact, some rivers may have just completely disappeared. And, I'm Noah walking around and I'm going, that river right there, I think that could be the Euphrates River. I don't know. It may not at all, but things have changed. But what do we know? History tells us that where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers come together, that's the Fertile Crescent. That's the birthplace of humanity. A lot of good stuff happened there. A lot of bad stuff also has happened there, in case you haven't watched the news. It's still happening there. Let me just give you 4 examples. And I don't know. I don't know who the 4 angels are that are released. I know they're not good guys. I know that they're out and they're mad and they've been given freedom to do something really, really horrible. But here's what I think. I know one family that lived in that fertile valley, of the original fertile valley. And this husband and wife, they had 2 sons, and their sons, they were so cute. They were always competing with each other because, they were just brothers. And one day, the one brother brought an offering to the Lord, and it was from the cattle that he was raising, the sheep that he was raising. And he said, "God, I'm bringing you an offering." And his brother, who is a keeper of the fields, he brought in a bushel of corn and some cool stuff. And God looked down on the one and said, Abel, I love your offering. Cain, I'm not happy with your offering. I don't find pleasure in your offering. Why is that? I don't know. I know there's a lot of details. There was something going on in Cain. And then see, I think at some point, this guy who'd never, ever, ever watched one episode of Wild Wild West, he had never, ever played with a cap gun, he had never, ever watched YouTube videos of people being killed or anything like that. He came up with in his own little mind, I bet I can kill my brother, and if I kill my brother, I can then have his place with God. Because see, somebody had come along, I believe, had come along to Cain and said, look, if you get rid of your brother, God will think you're way better. Don't we see that in business? Don't we see that in life? Look, if I can just assassinate this person's character, I can have their spot at the table. See, I'm pretty sure that there was an angel who came along who sat down next to Cain one day and said, look, here's what we need to do, brother. You know that knife that your dad uses for the sacrifice? If you'll take that knife, you can use that on your brother. And I know people are going, no, I have a picture in my Bible where Cain is killing Abel with a bone or a stick or a rock or something like that. I don't know, if you look it up, all it says, I listened to it again this morning, all it says is that he killed him and he spilled his blood on the ground. So however he killed him, it was a new idea that I believe somebody killed. I mean, look, we all know men can be pretty messed up. But this is the first murder ever. I'm thinking there was probably some demonic activity going around and going, do it. This is going to make you better. Is he one of the four angels that was locked away? I don't know. And then there's this little story about the sons of God coming and deciding we'd like to have children with the women of men, the Nephilim, these heroes of old, these and this is like sounds like a movie. It would be an awesome movie. I think it has been an awesome movie, but we know the Bible says there were angelic beings who came and had children by human women, and they made some superhuman kind of people. Okay, now you don't think God would have pulled that guy aside and said, dude, what were you thinking? Look, this was never my plan. My plan is for this to be pure and for you to be pure, and what you've done is you've taken your purity, and you got thrown out of heaven, by the way, and now you've taken and you've tried to. I think that could be number 2 guy that was locked away in there. Number 3 guy, Noah. He comes out of the ark. Noah's been in the boat for a while. Noah's seen the entire earth be covered with water. He's been trapped in a boat with his wife, his sons, their wives, and 2 of every kind of animal known to man. I would want to drink also. But he comes off the boat and he plants a vineyard and he raises grapes. And then he takes the grapes and he makes juice. And then he lets the juice ferment, and then he drinks the wine and he becomes drunk. Now let me just say this for a minute. I know the Bible talks about strong drink as a mocker. I know that wherever you stand on that whole thing, if you'll notice with me, nowhere in there does it say, and Noah did a horrible thing by getting drunk. I'm not saying that it's not bad. I'm just saying that is not what we get out of this story. What we get out of this story is his son Ham comes up, and his son Ham sees his father and he mocks his father. Now listen, I see my dad build an ark. I don't even know what an ark is because it's going to rain. I don't even know what rain is. My dad is a lunatic. The man is crazy until it starts raining. Wow, Dad may not be as dumb as I thought. Many of us fathers are going, yes, I've had that conversation with my son. Yes, son, I'm not as dumb as you thought I was. I actually know what I'm talking about. I'm thinking if there's anybody who ought to respect their dad, it ought to be Shem, Ham, and Japheth. But Ham doesn't have respect for his dad. Apparently, somebody, somewhere I believe somewhere along the way, some angelic being goes, hey, dude, you need to go check on your dad. You know how you used to just think he was just the biggest idiot? Go in there. He's passed out and drunk. He's just naked. Now would be a great time to let him know, I'm way better than you are, Dad. Whatever he did, I mean, if you look, Ham gets hammered. I mean, God doesn't just say, well, it's not good. I mean, he gets a curse that he goes, God, this curse is just too much for me to bear. This is just not even right. I don't think that happened just because Ham came up with something on his own. I think there was maybe that was the third angel. The fourth angel could very well be, again, and we know this all happens in this Crescent Valley, the Tower of Babel, where somebody convinces all these people, hey, let us build a tower all the way to heaven so that we can be like God. I don't know if those are the four guys that are released from there, but whoever's released from there, they are released and they're still in chains. They still can only do what they're told they can do. Verse 15. The four angels who had been prepared for the hour and the day and the month and the year were released so that they would kill a third of mankind. All right. If you have a question about God's sovereignty in all of things, okay. But I'm pretty sure you'll have to agree. It sounds like God is pretty sovereign in this particular instance. Because he said, I've taken these four and I have set them aside for this day, this hour, this day, this month, and this year. And I'm going to release them so that they can kill 1/3 of the population. That's a lot of people. The number of the armies of the horsemen was 200 million. I heard the number of them back years ago. One of the teachers of the time said, "Okay, this means that this army must be China, because China could easily put a 2 million man army together." And then there are people who say, "No, that couldn't happen. This couldn't." How many is 2 million foot soldiers? Is a line of soldiers a mile deep and like 84 miles wide. So if you took a half a mile deep of soldiers and put them spread out, they could literally walk their way arm in arm across the state of Tennessee. I know some of them be valleys and rivers and all. Just work with me here. If it was flat, like Texas, if it was just, that's a lot of people. That's an awfully big army. Verse 17. And this is how I saw the vision in the horses and those who sat on them. The riders had breastplates the color of fire and hyacinth and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were like the heads of lions, and out of the mouths proceeded fire and smoke and brimstone. Fire is a red color. Hyacinth is a reddish blue color, like a purple color. We've seen that in the flame. Brimstone is yellow. When we look at a flame, we see a flame. Sometimes the flame are different color. What's the hottest color in the flame? Is it the red or is it the blue, right? So is this actual pictures? Or these guys actually have flame on them? Is it a male, a coat of male? I'm not exactly sure. I think the colors probably have something more to do with it. And I know that people, then they get out there and they're like, okay, well, let's go find out whose national flag has these three colors in it, and then we'll know who this is. At that point, I don't think it's going to really matter. Are these weaponized vehicles? These horses, they have heads like lions, or they have lions' heads? Or how many of y'all have ever seen a picture of a war horse wearing a gas mask? Because they did that. They had to protect the horses, so they would put these gas masks on the horses. Or we've seen movies where the horses have as much armament on them as the rider has, because if you're all decked out in armor, but your horse is just vulnerable, it's easy. I just kill your horse, and while you're on the ground, I kill you. We don't know exactly what this looks like, because John is giving us his translation of pictures he's seeing that are probably way beyond anything he's ever experienced before. Verses 18 and 19. A third of mankind was killed by these three plagues: by the fire, and the smoke and the brimstone which proceeded out of their mouths. For the power of the horses is in their mouths and in their tails, for their